Welcome to the Next ChaptHER Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Hecht. I'm super excited to be here today with Shari-Beth Susskind. And Shari-Beth and I met through a mutual friend on Instagram. Someone had posted her beautiful artwork. I started following her and reached out to learn more about her artwork. And in conversation and learning about her art, I learned all about her journey and how she got started as an artist. And I thought that her story was really fascinating and something that the Next ChaptHER Podcast community would enjoy hearing. So welcome, Shari-Beth, to the Next ChaptHER Podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So I kind of already shared that you are an artist, but that's not where your journey began. So if you could kind of take us back to the beginning of your professional journey and tell us where it started.
So I started, and I still am, a personal trainer. It's about 25 years that I've been personal training. I say that number, and it seems like, where did the time go? And I can't believe it myself, but yes. And at 35 years old or 34 years old, I had my last son, and I decided it was time to get in shape. So I went to a personal training studio, got into shape. They asked me to be a trainer, and that's where I started my journey. And then 7 years in, I had a biking accident, which I had to take some time off to work on that, surgeries, and so forth. And then, I don't know, I just felt like it was time to do something else. So I actually started, I took a certification in being a life coach. And then the following summer, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And that was really a pivotal point in my life. And thank God they got it early. And I had, at 41, I had surgery, and it put me in menopause at 41 years old. But I didn't need any chemo or any kind of anything. That was it. And so I was very grateful, but I was lost. I had my boys. I have 3 boys, but, I needed something else for myself. And I went on vacation that summer with a cousin of mine. And she said, why don't you open up your own training studio in your basement? And I thought, my basement? Who's going to want to come to my basement? And then she gave me like the visualization of my floors and what they would look like. And I was like, and they were like, like a wood floor. And I'm like, oh, that would be kind of cool. And 3 days later, I had the contractor there. I called the gym designer, and we gutted the basement, and I had my surgery that September. And I started the construction before my surgery so that it would be ready when I was ready to work out again. So that was like a pivotal point. I didn't wait and see. I started, and that seems to be let's just do it. And we'll figure it out as we go along.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to kind of digest, and I appreciate your openness in sharing all of that and understanding that in those pivotal moments with health scares, it's completely normal to feel lost and not sure what you want to do. And a lot of people can stay lost and frozen. And so I find it to be extremely admirable that you took that time and that you transitioned into being that full-time personal trainer, and that you took your health in your own hands, and that you were able to do that. And that you, I think in previous conversations you said that you're a yes person.
Yes.
And that, and that you said that you even had the contractor there, and started doing this before your surgery, and that you weren't going to let this health scare stop you. So can you kind of speak a little bit to that? Because I'm sure that there are other listeners here that are either going through health scares or something, and how you had that strength within to move forward.
I didn't want to be the girl who had cancer. I didn't want to be I just didn't want it. I wanted to be somebody else. So I, took all that energy and all of that newness, all of the even the construction and all I got to think about something else. I didn't have to think about, really what was happening. I did, and I took care of everything, but I got to focus on something really positive and something that would move me forward. And in my hearts of hearts, I was super, super, super lucky, because ovarian cancer is really hard to find. And there's no one test to do it, to detect it. And so it's a variety of things that they figure it out. And eventually it's a biopsy that really, confirms anything. And so I just wanted to move forward. And this was like so energizing, and then people were coming to visit me, and I was like, come on, let me show you my studio. Let me show you what we're doing here. And it really got me through, a hard time.
Right. And it sounds like a very, scary, hard time. But I like how you were able to pull on something positive, and that it was able to help you propel forward. So that's a great piece of advice for people that are going through something, that you can, and I'm sure there are moments when you can sit and you're scared and you're not sure what's going to happen, but to be able to hold on to something positive and pull you forward again is really admirable.
There's standing in front of people and being a personal trainer. Like, to me, that's like home for me. I'm extremely comfortable in my workout clothes. I'm extremely comfortable leading people in the gym. And so I just wanted to, to me, that was like, that just felt good. And so, like, to do it for myself, listen, I was scared. I had no clients. I had, there was a whole list of things that would have said, don't do this. But I did it anyway. I said yes.
But yeah, you said yes, but you also believed in yourself. And that's really important. And you mentioned also that was something that you felt comfortable with, that was like kind of your part of your identity, and that made you move forward, and that you enjoyed that. So
yes,
that's really important. So you mentioned that you are a personal trainer. So if you can kind of speak a little bit to that part of your world now.
So I'm still personal training, and I work with men and women of all ages, quite frankly, anywhere from like, I don't know, 18 to 72. And I love them all, men and women. And at this point of the game, weight training is, everybody has to weight train. So it's not even an option anymore. It's the science have said, like, you could do cardio, but if you don't weight train, it's going to be a problem later on. And so cardio is great for your heart, and it's great for your endorphins and all of that. But the muscle that you put on your body will protect you as you age. So it's really important. In addition, as far as like women or men who want to lose weight or what have you, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest. So build muscle, and you're not going to put the weight back on if you lose it, because you have that muscle as like your superpower.
Which is important too, because you had your health scare, but now you're helping to protect others and to keep them healthy. So that must feel really rewarding to be able to do that for a living.
It is. My personal training is really personal training. Like, I get to know every individual, and I've been through with people in their the happy times and the sad times, the deaths, the babies, and everything in between. And that's part of the piece of my job that I love, because they come to me, they work out, they feel better, whatever, for whatever they're going through in life. And I really get to know them. It's nice.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you mentioned that you have also a life coaching background. So I assume that also plays into your personal training
Huge.
as well, that you're able to talk to them and understand, maybe when they're having self-doubt with, the way that they look, or the amount of weight that they can, lift, or all of that. So it's nice that you're able to leave all.
Yes. And I'm also, I have a certification from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, so I can also guide them on nutrition. But it's funny. Some clients I've been really training for a very long time. I mean, 20 years, right? Like, wow. Long mm-hmm. time. And you know what? I learned from them too.
That's really nice. And it sounds like you enjoy being around other people too, that helps to energize you.
Yes, definitely.
And so we mentioned that you're still doing the personal training, but there's also another side of your professional journey. So can you share that other piece with us?
So I'm an artist. And I am self-taught, and I never did art before what I'm doing now. And in 2016, so there was an 18-month span where I lost both of my parents, my brother, my father-in-law, a very good friend, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I became an empty nester. And although I had it was a lot.
To say the least. And I'm not trying to minimize it. Yeah, I'm not trying to minimize that at all.
3 days after my mother died, a close friend died, and 6 weeks later, my father-in-law died. Like, it was a really tough time. So I decided that I definitely had time on my hands, and I was like, I'm going to order some art supplies, which I did. And I started playing around with all these different things, mediums, and nothing was doing it for me. And then I found this one medium that was okay, but wasn't great. And then I found this shiny stuff, which was resin. And I started playing around with that, and my clients would come in. I would hang my art. They would say, wow, that's great. Or some people would just walk by it. And that's when I realized that art is truly in the eyes of the beholder. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. And my daughter-in-law, who's now my daughter-in-law, who was my son's girlfriend, was working for UJA in New York. And there was a trunk show in the Hamptons, and they were looking for new vendors. And she asked me to be a vendor. And I was like, yes.
There goes that yes again. But
sure. I had no idea what I was doing. I just was creating art. I had to get like everything, walls to hang the art. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. And that day we did it. My husband, he was my schlepper. He's my intern. And apparently, I think he was just promoted to my apprentice.
Okay, yes, I have seen that on your Instagram. And also, I thought the professional packer.
He is.
Like when you ship art, because you are shipping art all over. So
yes,
so nice to have a support system.
I could not do it without him. Like, there's no question. And he actually enjoys it. He really does. We have a lot of fun together. And then the first show we did together, it's a lot of schlepping. It's heavy. It's a lot. And, at the end of the day.
And your pieces are big, and I've seen them in person. The art itself with the layers of resin are heavy.
Yes.
They're substantial. Mm-hmm.
And so that day we packed up the stuff. I get in the car and I sold I sold my art and I was like crying. And I'm like, not only did I could sell it, but I made it. Like, to be able to like make something and sell it was like crazy stuff, like nuts. And, honestly, I just wanted to call my parents, because well, I believe that they know, but because that is my explanation for what I'm doing. Because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And that I always say it's my parents. They have to be guiding me in this direction in order to keep me, engaged in life and happy and upbeat and, have a path, I guess, because that's the only explanation, because there is no other explanation. So that's what I like to believe.
Well, no, and I strongly believe that too, because in moments, that is a tremendous amount of stress to be under with loss, and again, another health scare, and so many people, it's natural to just completely crumble. And I'm sure, there could be moments when you may or may not have, but to then be able to turn that into something so beautiful, and to take up this hobby that then turned into this beautiful business is incredible and super inspirational.
Thank you.
And I do believe that they are, guiding you. And you had mentioned in a previous conversation that your father actually was an artist himself.
He was a sculptor. Never sold a thing, just did it up for himself. And he started when I was a little girl, but he was a dry cleaner and he had multiple dry cleaning stores in New York, and he was busy. So he made one piece, he put it to the side. And then when he retired, they have a place in Florida, and he would sculpt every day. He rented a studio and he would sculpt every day. And most recently, they left the apartment to us, which we still have, and my siblings and I found his toolbox. And in his toolbox, I was looking for a chisel, which is a chisel and a mallet. Like we all need to look for that. So I was like, it would be in the box. Don't ask me why, but I needed a chisel and a mallet. And I went in there and I knew it would be there. And I opened the box, and in the box, in the toolbox was a mask, a respirator. And that's what I use that's what I use when I paint. And I never knew he used it. So as I'm taking out the tools and everything, the bottom of the tube, there's a mask in there. And I was like, this is nuts, because I never knew that. And that's like, that's what I use every time I paint. So it was kind of cool. Like we were connected.
It is. That is really special to see all those real connections.
Yes.
And again, in another conversation, you had mentioned that you said that you just called yourself an artist, that you didn't have formal training, which I think so many people feel that they need to have this certification or major training or pay all this money to do something, which for certain things it's important. And I'm not discounting anyone that goes, back to school. I most recently went back for my life coaching certification. So it is important, but it also is important for people to recognize that you can do things also on your own, and that you can make a path for yourself. And so can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
So the day of that art show in the Hamptons, I was staying at a friend's house, and she had just wrote a book. And I said, oh, so you're an author? And I said, because if I'm an artist, you're an author.
Right.
Right? And she was like, oh, I am, you are, and we were just really supportive. And the funny part about the story is that she says, she still tells that story. And here I am telling that story, because I was an artist. What was I going to do? I was selling my art. Hi, my name is Shari-Beth. I'm a personal trainer. It didn't make sense. I'm the artist.
Right.
Right. And so, we do get caught up with, having a degree or what have you. But I don't think it's important. You are who you want to be.
100%. So it's the degree. And also I think in moments when people feel lost, if they can hold on to some kind of title, that it helps people move forward. So I had, a client that was changing careers, and she's like, I feel lost. I feel like I lost my identity. And I said, well, you're transitioning into a new career. And if you can own that title now, then how does that feel? And she tried it on and it felt so wonderful. So the fact that, that worked for you, that worked for your friend, if you try this title on, and it helps you move forward.
Yes, 100%. Do you know Amanda Klutz? Do you know who she is? So Amanda Klutz, during her during the pandemic, it was very publicized. Her husband Nick was a actor, and she was on Instagram, and he got COVID early on, and he tried to fight for his life. Anyway, young couple, little baby wasn't even a year old, and Nick died during COVID. And Amanda Klutz is a fitness instructor. Was on Dancing with the Stars. She's on a talk show. She's a talk show host now, The Talk. Anyway, after Nick died, somebody told her that do something new. It will help propel you to go forward. Something that you've never tried before. Nothing. And I recently learned this. I didn't know this back then. And so she tried tennis because it was new, it was fresh, she was learning a new skill. And it had nothing to do with her, it was something fresh and new just for herself. And so I kind of feel like the art was that. If I had to look back, I didn't know this philosophy then, if you want to call it a philosophy. But it really is. It saved me.
No, it sounds, and that's really interesting because, something new. It's exciting. You can research it. You're able to kind of move past the hope, and then you move past the autopilot mode that people get into if they're so used to something in their routine. They just kind of go through the motions, and that I love that trying something new really does kickstart something. Exactly. And it sounds like exactly what has happened with you. And so you've been creating this beautiful art, and I see that you're going to have a piece in, did you mention like a hotel lobby?
Apartment building lobby.
And that you've shipped the artwork all over the place.
Across the country. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. But, to this day, last week, I got a commission, and I got in the car, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And, when we came in, I went to somebody's house and whatever, she gave me a deposit right in there, and I got in the car, and all I wanted to do was call my parents, cause they would be like, what is happening? It's cause it is, and so, it still gets me, and, but again, I have to believe that they're propelling me through, and it certainly keeps, it's certainly not boring. And I get to connect with people.
Yeah.
Also.
Right. So it sounds like it's twofold for you. It helps. It was something new and exciting, and that it also, again, it allows you to connect with people and bring beauty and joy into their homes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
As we're kind of nearing the end of our conversation, and I appreciate your openness, what is maybe one gem that you would want listeners to walk away our conversation having taken and be able to put it in their back pocket as they kind of move forward on their journeys?
I would say just go for it. Just, jump and the net will appear. And that's really been my motto since I started my personal training business. That sort of took off, and just believe in yourself and trust that it's going to work out, and that's really the key, is just trusting, because otherwise you're going to stress. But if you just if you want to give it over to a higher power, whatever you decide, just trust that it's going to work out. Why wouldn't it?
Exactly. And trusting the process is so important, and something that I really work with my clients on, that you have to trust the process. And at any given moment, you can change directions. You can pivot. There's a new path that you can always take, a new road, a new turn to take. So,
all the
you
time,
put one foot in front of the other, and and you get stronger, and and look at all these beautiful things that came out of the health scare and loss, that you really have created this beautiful journey for yourself.
Right. And one other thing I would say is don't wait and see. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one more thing. Don't wait and see.
Yeah.
I'll do this after, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Like, people say, well, I'm going to wait if I waited to build my gym, to build my studio back in the day until after, just do it. It'll don't think so too much. Just do it and it'll all work out.
Right. And if it hasn't, there's a saying, my parents always say it, and now I can't remember it. Like, if it hasn't worked out, it will work out like it hasn't worked out yet. That, keep trying, keep moving, keep pivoting. And that, again, that take the leap. Like you mentioned, that the safety net will be there, but you got to at least take that leap. And you're a true inspiration. Your artwork is absolutely beautiful. And
thank you.
I wish you all the best and good health, and continuing to make beautiful, beautiful artwork. And
thank you so much.
Thank you for being a guest. And my question to all the listeners is, what are you going to take a leap on? What can you do just to write that one next page in your next chapter? Because you never know where you'll end up. So thank you for tuning in.